Director of Undergraduate Studies at the University of Bradford in the UK, and joins me from the city of Leeds. Good to have you with us again on Al Jazeera. I mean, there are two issues here: what happens in Raqqa, and also the larger question about Kurdish autonomy. Let's just begin with the SDF and the support that they have from the US in this fight for Raqqa. Now that Raqqa is in the control of the SDF and certainly forces aligned to freeing it from ISIL, who's actually in charge in the future of this area?
This is exactly going to be the heart of the problem from today onwards. Obviously, it was a very good news that Raqqa, which was the main platform for the so-called Islamic State to mobilize and organize its forces and run its brutal domination, which at some point covered 10 million people. So it is a very good news that this very important and symbolic kind of city is now liberated and ISIS is no longer in charge. But the question is, SDF believes that it should kind of expand its domination over Raqqa and annex it and make it basically part and parcel of its federalist project. This is an idea which Bashar Assad systematically kind of have a problem with, and obviously is going to create some serious tension and problems in the coming weeks and months. And there is a regional dimension into this as well. If you do look at the map of Raqqa, you see that it is only 55 miles away from the Turkish frontiers. And actually this has created a great deal of sensitivities for Ankara. As you mentioned yourself, YPG, according to Ankara, is basically an extension of PKK, which the Turkish state regards as kind of a terrorist organization. So obviously the next few weeks and few months is going to be very contentious, and it's going to be very problematic about who should basically have a meaningful and defining role in Raqqa.
And of course the SDF joined this fight on, you might say, the assurances given by the US that they would be sympathetic to their long-term desire to be part of a more wider Kurdish state that would spread possibly across the areas of Turkey and Syria, Iraq and Iran. Of course, we've seen what's happened over in Iraq in the past few days. So where do we go with the US? Will they stand up to their obligations or certainly their agreements and still be sympathetic to the SDF in the future?
I think for the United States, SDF has been playing a very important and defining role in fight against the so-called Islamic State. But in my opinion, the United States has no idea about what happens after the defeat of the so-called Islamic State both in Iraq and Syria. As the city of Raqqa indicates, as the current discussion and struggle about kind of domination over this city suggests, that obviously the main problems, the main struggles is going to start, after today, when the city is completely liberated. And we're not only talking about Raqqa, there are so many other areas that SDF believes that it should be part of the future federalist project in line with the Rojava revolution. And this is something that both Bashar Assad and his allies, like Russia and Iran, and at the same time Turkey, have a problem with. So there are some local, national, regional and global dimensions here, which are extremely complicated to resolve.
Indeed, and we shall follow the events very closely there in the region. For the moment, Dr. Shahi, thanks for joining us from Leeds.